Welcome back. You tune in to B2B Marketing Forum, the online version, CMO Talks, or CMO TV, I should say. But if you have a question, and you might, hashtag CMO Talks, because it's almost over, but I have a very special guest, and that's Steven van Belleghem, but I'm sure that in your language, in Belgium, you would pronounce it differently. What's your name?
Steven van Belleghem, but in English you can say Steve Bell. You know,
Steve Bell.
It's my international name. It
so
works
right now,
better.
You're Steve Bell.
Steve Bell.
Exactly. We have about 7 minutes that we can talk about, so let's have a conversation. We'll get back to that word. Today the topic is stop your marketing and start engaging. Why is this an important topic, and why is it also important to you?
Well, I think first of all the traditional approach of selling products, the hard selling way, the one-way communication approach, is suffering today. People don't like it to be called cold. They don't like to have account meetings that much anymore. So you need to replace that a little bit by something else. And I think the trick is making sure that clients come to you, or that prospects come to you, and that prospects start to have a conversation with you. Why? Because if you succeed in that, you have a more emotional relationship between your clients and your company. And the moment that people have an emotional relationship with you, you know, they're becoming ambassadors of your brand, and they bring in the new clients. So actually, I think the goal of that engagement is not necessarily the engagement by itself, but making sure that your clients become your brand ambassadors and that they do the sales for you.
So I think if I listen to the words that you're saying, I would say yes to every single word that you're saying. I won't say hallelujah, but I would applaud and clap in my hands. Mm-hmm. Where do you think the resistance is in the world today? Why people still will not adopt this kind of thinking?
I think the routine on the one hand, where we have our processes, we have our way of working, we have our marketing plans, we have our trade shows every few months, and we are organized to that. And using the new approach is like changing your day-to-day habits, and people don't like to change. And I think that's the difficult part. The second thing is that the knowledge in companies about the new approach, about new communication approaches, about social media is still pretty low. And a lot of people have an opinion about it, but there are not that many people who have experience with it from a professional point of view. And that lack of knowledge is one of the bottlenecks that things are not proceeding fast enough.
So you think that if I listen to you in a smart way, it's a little late in the day, but changing habits is difficult, and education is one of the ways to change habits. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and I know that you have written the Conversation Manager. Mm-hmm. Recently you came out with the Conversation Company. Is that also part of the educational process?
I hope so.
Yeah.
But what I feel is if you go to companies and you tell them that the change is not about social media, but the change is about people having different expectations towards brands. Today people want to be treated differently by a brand, by a company than 10 years ago. And that due to the empowerment of people, word of mouth is actually becoming far more important again than it was compared with the situation 10 years ago. And everybody understands the word of mouth principle, you know, everybody agrees that an existing client that recommends your products to a non-client is the best way of advertising that you can have. Yeah. And today, the challenge is to manage word of mouth, and if you approach it in that way and you tell people let's manage word of mouth and let's optimize the conversation potential, then it becomes, you know, easier to understand than if you bring a technology story and say there's new technology that you need to use to get to your client.
Okay, I know you're about to speak later on, I think in about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. How long have you been an ambassador of this conversation or engagement marketing word of mouth concept? How long have you been active in this field?
Well, I wrote my first book in 2009. It was released in 2010. And the 3-4 years before that, I was doing research about consumer behavior and the way that the impact of advertising was changing, the way that brand management was changing. And actually, those 4 years of research resulted in my first book. So about 7 years now that I've been working in this field.
And then if we take the last 3 to 4 years, have you actually been able to transform with your advice and your books and workshops and other things, transform a company from the old-fashioned approach and an engagement approach?
Oh, there are a number of companies that we're working with. One of the companies is Telenet. It's a Belgian telco player who really is aware of the fact that they need to change a few things, like their customer experience, remove the dissatisfiers because they cause negative word of mouth, but also their advertising approach. Until now, Telenet was really a promotion-driven company, and it's still very important. But on the other hand, they really want to go into the dialogue with their clients. They want to move from advertising to content marketing, and they're in that pilot phase now. To be very honest, most companies now are in a pilot phase. There are not that many companies that I know that are fully doing everything that is written in my books.
Like a switch, the emphasis.
Yeah, and it takes time, because you, on the one hand, you have the economic reality that you need to have your sales results every quarter. Certainly for big companies, ROI is important. But on the other hand, you feel the need and the urge to change. So most of those companies are like setting up parallel tracks, one with a new approach and one with the existing approach. And at a certain moment, these two will cross. But also a nice one that I'm working for is my favorite football team, Club Brugge in Belgium.
Never heard of it. That's a joke.
But that's okay. That's
I know the football club.
We haven't been playing that well in the last 5 years, but it is improving. We can still become champion this year. But they are using as the first soccer club in Belgium then the philosophy of a conversation manager to really go into the dialogue with the fans and see the fans as an asset and part of the almost the decision-making unit of the team.
And the results are coming?
Results are coming. The number of people who have a yearly ticket, a season ticket, is increasing. Number of Twitter followers has doubled in the last 3 months. And now today they announced that they're going to bring in a personal coach for the fans to make sure that the fans have somebody to talk to and to have interaction with during and next to the games, which is fun.
Last question. I was thinking, don't hold it against me, something happened in the upper chamber.
Okay.
And it's maybe strange, but let's say that your world is the world of the future. Let's say most companies are in a pilot phase. Let's say they see that word of mouth is the way to go and push marketing and advertising doesn't really bring the results. So you would say that in the future they will pull back. Do we see less advertisements or other companies, because tariffs are going to be lower, jumping in again? Are we going to see the future with less advertisements?
Well, if you look to the press conferences of the biggest advertisers in the last 2 weeks, the answer could be yes. If you look to Procter & Gamble, they decided to fire 1,600 people because they said in the last 2 years we increased our advertising budget with 2.5 billion, with 25%. We're spending now 10 billion per year, but the sales is only increasing with 6%. So the end of our existing model is here. InBev, the largest brewer in the world, had a press conference this week, and they said TV becomes our second medium, and the internet and social media becomes our number one, because we want to manage directly the relationship with the consumer. We don't want to outsource that anymore. So you see movement among the big advertisers. So you could expect that they change it. I don't expect that they will kill all their traditional advertising at all, but InBev actually said we see TV as an amplifier, and we see social media as the direct relationship manager.
Nice. Let's see what how
the future
will come, and the true conversation. That's what it is about.
True.
And would it be funny if we see a simple local lawyer with an advertisement just because nobody
else is doing it?
Yeah, but maybe that's a little bit too far away. So good luck with your presentation.
Thank you.
Later
Thank you
on
for
today.
the interview.
Sure. Thank you.